Greetings, salutations from Earth. I'm Honolulu coming at you at 900 terahertz, I think. Something like whatever. Whether you're far or near, I'm happy that you're here. Today is Tuesday. It is Tuesday, and that means we are introducing another segment called Talk That Talk Tuesday. Hmm. I wonder, I wonder what that means. I hope that's what you're thinking. We're gonna get into it today. We're gonna get into it today. I think I'm gonna use this segment as an opportunity to um explore anecdotes from my life, the things that I've experienced as I walk on this planet. Because there are some things, let me tell you, there are some things that we have experienced. Um, anyway, what was I gonna say? If you have seen me before, I'm glad that you're seeing me again. If you're new here, welcome, welcome. Let's be friends. And being friends means engagements. I implore you to do that because it'll make my day, it'll make your day, it'll make the world go round. We're already lagging. That's great. That's great. Anyway, as I said, we're gonna get right into Talk That Talk Tuesday. Because if you are somebody who sits in a room in front of a camera, then it is mandatory. It is obligatory for you to talk about everything that has happened in your life. Obviously, I'm joking, but I'm just telling you, I'm going to be telling you this story today because hopefully, I don't know, it'll shed some light. It'll shed some light. Maybe you can relate. Maybe you can't relate, but you're like, oh, that's whack. I don't know. And that, yeah, we'll see. We'll just see. Um, so for starters, on Sunday there was an event, a community event, a picnic thing that I went to, and I will just say there were mostly white people there. And I don't know what you're seeing on the camera. I don't know what I look like. I don't know how you're perceiving me, but I will just give you a hint. I am not white. I like to use the term racialized because, ooh, we can get into this another time too. Race is not real. Race is not real. It is something that it's like a social construct. Yes, people are different skin colors. People are from different places in the world. Yes, 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 this is true. However, it's a crock of bullshit. It is a crock of bullshit. It is just something superficial, like these little boxes that we put people in order to make, I guess, the overseer's money or something like that. We'll get into it more in another video, but just for today, just know that I know I'm not a white person. Um, and that's important for later on. But I was at this event with other white people, and um, there was like tables, because like I said, it was a picnic, but it was like indoor outdoor thing. So inside this hall, there was tables where people were having drinks, and there was food, there was music, and there was like a craft table for the kids, and whatever, whatever, whatever. So at this table, I was sitting there with my mom and some of her, like her acquaintances, friends. Um, I will. I guess it's important for the story. She is white. I am not. But they're her friends, acquaintances, a friend of a friend kind of thing. I don't know these people personally, and she hasn't really even spoke about these people, but she is familiar with them. Um, and I'm just gonna call him the lobster because he was big and fat and tinted red, and he was wearing a red shirt. So I'm sitting beside this overgrown lobster, and he's like middle aged, older, like one of those guys. And that's never. Eh. When you're in your 20s, your 20 something year old, I'm sure you can relate to this, but when older people, people your parents' age, they always want to know what you do, what you don't do. Are you employed? Do you go to school? What do you want to be? Like, they just want to know too much. So I am properly house trained. So naturally, when he was speaking to me, I was just engaging in polite small talk conversation. He was like, "Oh, are you in school?" kind of thing. And I was just answering him. And then he went on, he was ranting about his daughter and stuff. And he was saying, um, he was saying, this is what put the alarms off in my head already. This is like right at the beginning of the event. But this is what already made me start thinking, oh, okay, so this is how we're gonna do it. Because um he was going on about how it's so hard if you have daughters. If you're raising daughters, it's so difficult and for them to act right or to get them to come along with you. And in my head I was thinking, well no shit, if you were my dad, I wouldn't want to go anywhere with you either. Um Hello? Hello? Why is it lagging? Oh, there we go. There we go. I'm wondering, is my program making it crash? She's doing too much. I'm gonna close her for now. I'm gonna make myself bigger. Um, yes, this lobster man, he was complaining about his daughter, talking, saying stuff like, "Oh yeah, the females, the daughters." If you refer to human beings as male or female outside of some sort of medical scientific um, um, context, you are weird. You are weird. You are weird. You are just weird, and I shouldn't have to explain why that is weird. The bioessentialism of it all. But yeah, so that was like, okay, this is how it's gonna go. Um, but when I revealed to him, okay, well, first going off of the females, the daughters, the women, his wife went to line up to go get food. She offered, she volunteered, "Oh, I'm gonna go get some food. Does anyone want anything? Whatever." Um, and then that's when my mom said, "Oh, why are you're gonna let your wife get all the food by herself?" And then he was just like, "Oh, yeah, who cares? That's where she belongs. That's where she belongs. Getting food for him." Okay. Nice. But back to me. When I told him, "Oh, well, I'm a musician," kind of thing, he was like, "Oh, wow, I can tell you're a musician. You look so stylish." Meanwhile, I was not stylish. I had a scarf on my head, I had sunglasses, and I was wearing jeans and a t-shirt. Like, I did not dress up. I did not try. And yes, I know I look good, but I wasn't trying to be stylish. I was just there. So, I don't know. It felt charged. It felt charged, if that makes sense. Um, but because was talking about musician, I do music, and he was all, "Oh, what kind of music you do?" Blah blah blah. Hey, I'm gonna plant a creative seed in your brain, and he starts explaining to me how he is so into making apps, and he's able to do this because AI. Before it used to take him days to make an app, and again, I don't know what these apps. I asked him, "What kind of app are you making?" He was like, "Lots of apps." So I don't know. Ill intentions. I'm sensing ill intentions. Um, but now it takes him, he can make an app in one night. So he tries to tell me, "Oh, you're a musician. I know this. let me go talk to my AI assistant and he'll tell you what what kind of AI you can use to help you make music. And I was like, yeah, I don't fuck with AI like that. Sorry, sir. I didn't say that verbatim, but I kind of made it clear, like, I don't think this is necessary. But he insisted. So he proceeds to lead me to a back room because he's like, oh, it's too loud here. Let me show you in another room where it's more quiet. So he takes me to this back room, and I'm like, my mom was gonna come with me because he wanted to show both of us, but she was like, no, I'm not interested. So I was walking there with him already, and I was like, oh, okay, wait, he's gonna kill me or something. Um, they go to the back room, and then he pulls out his phone with I don't even know what AI it was. I don't know how AI works. I don't know. I don't know. But he pulled out his little thing and he opened the application and the AI was named Miles and he had a clear black scent, if you will. And the lobster says to me, "Oh, he sounds cool. His name's Miles. He sounds cool, right?" And immediately in my head, I was like, because he has a black scent. So you're imagining your idea of a cool black guy. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. I can't wait this is going to make for a fun story. Um, so yeah, he sounds cool, right? The chick sounds even better. The chick sounds even better. And you know it's a thing, like why the series and I don't know all the other the Cortanas and all the Alexas, they're all women with these like almost sultry voices or whatever. Yeah, there's a reason for that because these decrepit lonely men need to make a robotic girlfriend basically. Like um the AIs that you have as an assistant, as a slave essentially to do stuff for you are women coded. And then the ones that you want help and advice from are male coded, men coded, man coded. Because you can't make a man do stuff for you, but you can learn from him. He can tell you what to do. You can take orders from him. You can serve him, but he can't serve you. On the other side, a woman, oh yeah, her condition is to serve you. But if she thinks you're gonna serve her, nah. Anyway, so the chick sounds even better. He probably uses the chick for nefarious purposes. Anyway, um, he's talking to this AI assistant like it's his best friend, like he's chatting with his buddy on the phone. And I was like, okay, this is loser behavior. This is literally loser behavior. Cause why are we even here? How did we get here? Why? And this is not an AI video. I already had an AI rant at another point, but you know, I can always do it again. But we're not going to focus on that today. But I'm just saying, you know my stance on AI, generative AI, and these AI assistants and stuff. Oh, you are willingly turning yourself into cattle. You're offsetting your human capacity for thinking to a machine and then rendering yourself obsolete. Because if you as a human being are not thinking, then you what are you? You're not. You are not. I'm sorry. That's just the way that it is. Um anyway, he gets this AI thing to recommend me the best tools to make lyrics. Mind you, I never said anything about lyrics when I was talking about me being a musician. I never even I never mentioned anything. I never even said that I write lyrics. Not that I don't, but we were talking about like DJing and doing house music or playing drums and how right now I'm really in like the rhythm era, my rhythm era. So I don't know where he got the idea that I need help with lyrics, but this he asked the AI for suggestions on what other AI I can use to make lyrics. Um, okay, the AI starts spitting out lyrics because he asks, "Can we make a song about a breakup?" And then the AI is like, "Oh, okay, I can't help you with the actual production, but I can help you with the lyrics." So then he starts spitting out honestly garbled nonsense. I was just not receptive to the whole entire thing because I was just so against it. But I was just there to see what does he think he can tell me. Anyway, this is to go on garbled nonsense. We're in a room together, and the silence speaks louder than any words. Okay, whatever. Um, and I'm like, I'm not really, I'm not impressed. And then the lobster says, "Okay, Miles, can we go even deeper? Like, can we make it even more intense?" Again, spits out the same garbled nonsense. Like, it wasn't, I'm not gagging, cause it's a robot wrote it. A robot wrote it. And it didn't sound particular. It was just so lifeless. It was devoid of life and all, like a point of view and whatever. So I wasn't impressed. When the robot was done speaking, the lobster was like, "Yeah, I'm just trying to give you ideas, plant a seed." And I said, "Well, respectfully, I don't I don't want to use AI in my work because philosophically, that's not art. It's not art." Um, and then he was like, "Yeah, but it's a tool. It's a tool. You know what? How these AI bros are? They're going on about how it's a tool and then it just improves your productivity." And then I said, "Well, isn't like I am a creative. I don't need help being creative because that's the point of me being creative. So I can sit there and think about it and work through my piece that I'm working on because that's the whole point of it, which they don't understand. Like if you are I hate how this AI stuff makes everybody think that they can like now suddenly everyone's a musician because they have this stupid little Miles to write lyrics for them and then they have another one to make their beat or whatever. Cuz then why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? For me as an artist, the journey is a destination. Like the whole I'm there for the process of it. Yeah, the product is great and I love to show it to people. You want to make them feel things. You're trying to communicate something. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's all fine and good. And part of that is the fact that you went and then created it yourself. You sat there thinking about lyrics. You sat there thinking about the hook, writing the melody, whatever. And whether you do this as an individual or you have like I write lyrics, but you're gonna write the melody for me, or like regardless, if you collaborate or you're doing it individually, the whole point was to create it. Otherwise, what else would I be doing? More productive to do what instead? That's my question to these stupid AI bros. Um, um, but yeah, I kind of mentioned this to him. Like I don't need I don't need help with my creativity because why would I ask an AI if for help on this when I have friends and peers, colleagues who are doing the same thing? Maybe they just, I don't know, have ears. They listen to music and enjoy it, and I can ask them, what do you think? How does this make you feel? I would sooner go and ask real human beings for insight than a dumb robot. But okay, anyway, I said this wasn't going to be an AI video. It's not entirely an AI video. Moving on, we sit back at the table, and I'm kind of like, okay, you already exposed the fact that you're a weird AI bro, and like, okay, I'm not. Mm, mm. Um, so we're just sitting there, enjoying the music, whatever the food, the atmosphere. It's all fine and good. of minutes pass and I'm not talking to this guy because again, I don't need to talk to him. He wants to talk to me. I don't need to talk to him. Out of nowhere, this lobster says, "So are you political? Are you foolish enough to vote liberal? Have you ever used the word colonization in a conversation?" And at that point, I was like, all right, okay. Just a side note for all those people who are not Canadian. Um, because in America, they have Republicans, they have Democrats. Republicans are like that's like MAGA, that's conservative. The Democrats are supposed to be the not MAGA, not conservative thing. Like ideologically, if we're doing the very simplified political spectrum, they're social what's the word that I'm saying? Like their social platform kind of runs along this. We're not gonna get into economically because, they're all crooks to me. It's the same whatever government you have, it's the same neoliberal crap anyway. Like neoliberal as in capitalist, free market, yada yada yada. Another we can address that another time. Go deeper into that. But in Canada, the red party is literally called liberal, and they are socially, socially more left leaning than the conservative party, which is blue. Which it never used to be so bad, I guess, but like the polarization in the United States has like come up here, so now you have a lot of the conservatives are like chumpy lights sort of thing. But that's kind of what we have going on in Canada. There are other parties, like we have the Orange Party is the National Democratic Party, and they're more left than the Liberals. And there's a Green Party who is also more left than the Liberals. I don't know if they're quite further left than the NDP though. But we have a lot of parties. Like we have a multi-party system. Do anyone else ever get elected? No. Federally, it's like liberal, conservative, liberal, conservative, liberal, conservative, and then each province and territory it varies. Anyway, Canadian politics. But he says to me, "Yes, you're not foolish enough to vote liberal, are you? Have you ever used colonization in a sentence?" And I was like, okay, whoa, we're gonna need to take this back because I'm gonna need to address both these points. Um, I asked him to elaborate. What do you mean? Who should we be voting for? Just because I don't, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that I ride for the Liberal Party. Again, as I mentioned, it's like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place because the system that we have is like rotted. So no matter who you have in charge, the system's gonna do what the system does. So it's not so simple as, oh, we vote this way and save the world. However, to all you people in America who didn't vote because you didn't want to elect the Democrats or whatever, like that whole thing that went on with your election, I do want to address like it's just because we have to play this game of who is the lesser evil. I do think it's still important to acknowledge that there is a more evil option that you shouldn't choose because look now, and I know the Republicans were rigging the polling, like they were burning the ballots and stuff like that, and they were rigging the computers. Like I know that's also a thing that may or may not have allegedly went down. Um, but just like when we have these discussions, it's a lot more nuanced than, oh, if you vote Democrat, you're complicit in genocide. Or, like it's eh, because now look what we got. Anyway, um, so I'm not gonna sit here and I don't want the people to get the wrong idea that I'm just like I'm not so stupid to think that vote liberal and save the world, whatever. But I wanted him to elaborate. What does he mean by vote conservative? Because it's all polarizing and it's identity politics of it all. Like they just like to belong to a side, red or blue, us versus them. That's kind of the intelligence level that he had. So I wanted him, okay, tell me, what is it? What is it you think? And over the course of this conversation, I just noticed this is what these MAGA types, these what do they call it? Reactionary types. This is how they operate. They in all the conversations I've had with these people, they'll ask you, so what do you think about this? Instead of addressing their points, their beliefs, or whatever, instead of saying, I think this, and this, and this, they ask you, what do you think about this? Is because they're almost trying to like get you to convince them because they know in their heart, I feel like deep in like the little in their brainstem, they know that what they're doing is stupid and they're just doing it cuz like they're just trying to spite people. It's a whole like it's very petty, but it's almost like they are trying to get you to like it's a cry for help. To me it looks like a cry for help like, "Oh, please help me change my mind" kind of thing. Obviously, subconsciously that's what it is, but on the surface, they don't even know what they're doing. Anyway, um he said something like the conservatives are more responsible. And I was like, okay. I don't know how you got to that conclusion. Um, but I wanted to really address the point that he made about colonization or colonialism because I was like, so I'm curious about that. Do you not think that it's real? Do you not think like do you not understand the concept? And he was like, yeah, I just think that colonization means I know I agree that it happened. It's a good thing because it means building a civilization. Building a civilization that nobody asked for? Okay. He was just saying bullshit like that. Like spouting pro white anti-black rhetoric kind of thing, anti immigration stuff. And I said, "Well, it's easy for you to think this because you're white, so it's not impacting you negatively. Well, yeah, it's not impacting you the way it's impacting other people." And then that's when he rolled his eyes and he made like a big show, like he was huffing and puffing, like, "Oh, no, don't bring the race into this." As a white guy, I am oppressed. The lobster looked me in the eyes and said, "As a white guy, I am oppressed." And he started going on about how there's no opportunities for white men and in his office because he works for the federal government, whatever. In his workplace, they're all brown people, and he's way more capable than them, but they have higher position. And I was like, okay, first of all, and you don't sound like you're capable. I didn't say that, of course, but yeah, bullshit. I tried to explain to him how, as like, even if there are, the situation is as he's describing it in his workplace, that doesn't change the fact that he still has institutional power as a white man. He's able to walk the streets and he doesn't have to fear. He doesn't have to really fear. He doesn't have to fear the cops. He doesn't have to fear other people. Like he's literally walking at the top of society. Even though he's not one of the one percenters, it's just his by virtue of being white, he's not going through life with the same like literal bricks in his backpack the way other people are. Um, he's he said if I could play, I because it got to a point where I was like, it seems like to me you're just salty that you're salty that essentially your privilege as a white man. He's salty about EDI, equity, diversity, and inclusion practices. You're salty about this because You want to believe we're living in a meritocracy and we're not, and you can't cope with your mediocrity. I didn't say it exactly like this, but it sounds like to me you're bitching and whining because you can't play the race card. And then he said to me, if I could play the race card, I'd play it every day that I can. Which is like, I don't want to live in a world where people have to play a race card. I don't want to live in a world where that is even a thing because it means that's just fucked. That just means that there are people who have advantages and people are like we need to put on handicaps just so people can catch up. That just to me signifies inequalities, and we don't want those. So we shouldn't want to be making up a world where, okay, we'll just make it the other way. Like white people are oppressed now, so now we need EDI. Like what? That's stupid. Anyway, I was talking about how as a white man you're moving through society so much more freely than some who's not a racialized person because they have to think about things like police brutality, for example. And I brought this up, and first of all, he was like, how many people are killed each year by the cops? How many black people are killed by the cops?" And I was like, "Well, shit. I thought I was coming to a community picnic. I didn't know that I had to bring my I didn't know I had to bring my sources and resources because I didn't know I would need like fact check. Like, damn. But I was like, honestly, I couldn't tell you that number. I don't actually know, but you can't pretend that that's not happening. But he was like, yeah, I was abused by the cops too, and he explained how they charged him with a DUI, even though he's never had a drink or smoked anything in his life. But somehow, one night he was driving, a cop pulled him over and then apprehended him and brought him down to the station and they charged him for driving under the influence. And I was like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. But okay, I'll humor you. I'll humor you. The reason that you're able to even sit in this chair and tell me this funny little story about how they charged you with a DUI and they made up the fact that you were driving under the influence, even though you weren't driving under the influence. You're allowed to sit here and tell me this because if you were racialized, you would not have got out of that cell. Who knows if you would have even made it like out of the car? It would have been done on site there. Like that just does not happen to black people, to indigenous people, and they don't have the ability to just, oh, my the officer made a mistake. Like no, they lose their lives. They lose their lives over stupid mistakes that the police are doing. Um, what did he said something that really, really, really pissed me off because I was talking about how black and indigenous people are overrepresented in the prison systems, even though they like the portion that they make of the population of Canada versus the population in the prisons, it's sus. And he basically said, not verbatim, but he was insinuating that the reason why these people are in prison is because they're predisposed to criminal behaviors. Because I asked, he was like, "Yeah, you want to know why they're all in the prisons? They're overrepresented in the prisons because they're doing the crime." And I was like, "Yeah, well, first of all, you have aggressive policing that's happening. There's just point blank period aggressive policing that's happening to these people in these communities. Like it's just if they are being targeted, of course they're going to be apprehended more. But also, if there is a pattern, if we do see a pattern of these people, like no fucking shit, they are in a lower income bracket. It's a whole cascading effect from things that have happened in the past, the way that this country was designed, set it up so these people would be at the bottom of society. So then they would be not they're not biologically predisposed to doing criminal things, no, but hey, that's quite literally the only opportunities they have sometimes. And he was going on and on and on about how, no, well, it's because they don't have parents at home to teach them. They teach them how to steal, or sorry, he told me about somehow he was working in a juvenile detention center, or he was working with juvenile offenders, and he was like, he called them those little bastards. They're so arrogant, and they know, like, they choose to do things that are wrong. And I was like, well, no, you can only say that because you have never had to make that choice. Even me, like, I'm out here in suburbia. I have a roof over my head. I have food. I don't really have to think about where I'm gonna sleep, what I'm gonna eat. I don't need to worry about protecting myself. Like, a lot of young black and indigenous children have to grow up. Like, so for you to sit here and be like, oh, I don't know why they just don't steal is so sad. Like, whoa. Are you even living in reality? Because your reality is that you don't know what it's like to go hungry, or you don't you don't know what it's like. So I was really put off by that. Um and he started trying to tell me this sob story about, because he was like, oh, they don't have parents at home teaching them what's right, that's why they steal. And he was going on about how he knows he has a couple of black friends who are all very successful now, and they could have lived these horrible lives, but they chose not to. Okay, yeah, because you know you have a couple of black friends, so you can say the N word and you know everything about black people. Right. He tried to tell me a sob story about how his parents, he went to school with shoes that had holes in them because like he just like he works hard and his parents work hard and they were trying to be frugal or whatever. Like, again, on an institutional level, I'm not denying that there are poor white people. Like, I know that's a thing, and I know that that is an ordeal in and of itself. Like, just being like poverty. But imagine being poor and black. So now you don't have many money, and the system is made against you. At least if you're poor and white, you don't have money, but the system is not necessarily made against you. Like, it's just completely different. It's completely different. Um, I tried to explain to him generational wealth and how, for a lot of white people, they just start. It's like if you're running a race and they get to start ahead of you, like they literally get a head start, or they get a lap, a whole ass lap or two or three ahead of you. So like you spend the whole race trying to catch up and then you lose anyway. And you're exhausted and tired and you can't walk anymore. Like, he was it was just so stupid because he was at like these conservative people, these white apologists, um they like to act as if slavery and all that, colonization, slavery, Jim Crow, things like this, they like to act as if that doesn't affect us today because, oh, well, Martin Luther King Jr. came and he got black people to vote, so they can vote. I don't know why they're mad. Because honestly, hot take, civil rights and integration done fucked up black communities. Because because now they where was that? It was something in Oklahoma, like the Black Wall Street in Oklahoma, and then the white people literally bombed it. The only reason why the civil rights movement was went the way that it did was because white people realized they could get money, they could be profiting off of, like, they can get black customers now. So they now have a whole new customer base Because before they just got white customers, because white people would go to the white businesses, black people would go to black businesses. But then they saw black people owning businesses, getting money from their black community, and becoming prosperous. And they did not like this. They could not stomach the thought of black people being successful. They would rather let black people into their own store than have a black business owner be more successful than them. So yeah, that's the only reason why they made a move to on paper. I want you to understand that what I mean by the civil rights done fucked up black people is that all it did was give equality on paper. Which I'm not saying the right to vote, like the right to vote, that is a very important right to have, but it allows them now, it absolves them from doing any sort of work on their end because they can just sit there. Black people can vote. Why are you mad? Same with women. Women's rights. Oh, women can vote. Why are you mad? But then we're never addressing the more pressing issues almost because they follow you every day and no one talks about them. Like this the social views. Like black people can vote, but people still think black people are criminals. Like, okay, cuz now after civil rights, the conversation ends. The conversation ends. Cuz now if you say this kind of thing then you're crazy, you're radical or whatever. So it's a whole it's a whole can of worms. What was I even saying? Oh yeah, he was trying to deny generational wealth and that slavery has any effect today. And I'm like, whoa, hold up there. Like Jim Crow, are you familiar with Jim Crow? And yes, I understand we are in Canada, so in a Canadian context, we didn't actually have literal Jim Crow laws. It was a bit differently in that, see, America gets to be dogpiled by the world. Oh, you did slavery, you did slavery, you did slavery, because I'm not gonna talk about Caribbean islands and Latin America and stuff. Um, because things want Spanish, British. There's a bit of a different thing going on there. I'm specifically gonna address America in comparison to Canada because they were both formerly British colonies, whatever. So what happened? America has a climate that is more suitable for a plantation economy, which Canada did not. So there's way more black people in America who are descendants of slaves than there are Canada because the black population in Canada is mostly recent immigrants from like the 50s, 60s when there was a push from um the Commonwealth in like the Caribbean. So we there's a lot of like a large Caribbean community from like the 50s and 60s and onward. And then more recently, I guess we have a lot of immigrants directly from Africa, whereas America has like a this base level Black American population because no shit, they're slaves because they had whole ass plantations that Canada did not have. The slaves in Canada were doing um they were farming, and yes, we had, no, I'm not saying we, like, oh my god, I'm not part of this. Well, I didn't own the slaves. Um, there were indigenous slaves in the beginning. Um, but they also did some nefarious shit where they would take people from what is now Canada, make them go work in plantations on the islands, and then take the indigenous population from the islands and bring them to work here because if you are if they make you do like if they're mistreating you in your own area, you know this area and you can escape easily. You have like friends and stuff around. Like it's not gonna be easy for them to keep you. You'll be more you'll be less it's less demoralizing and all that stuff. But if they take you to a whole new area, then it's like, whoa, what? Where am I? You're disconnected from your whole community. Like it's a whole thing. So Yeah, there was indigenous slaves. I'm not ignorant of that fact. Um, but there was just a lot less aggressive chattel slavery, if you will, in the sense of we just didn't have plantations like that in Canada. But there were still farms, and they still obviously made these non-white people work for them for no pay. Um, it was just a smaller scale than the American Deep South cotton and sugar plantations and tobacco and stuff. Um, why am I explaining this? Okay, yeah. So the way slavery ended in America, which it did not end, look at the 13th Amendment. Slavery in all forms is illegal unless you're a criminal, basically. And how do they make you a criminal? They can just say you're a criminal. So basically, slavery is effectively legal in America. And we're not even going to get to the billions of dollars they earn from slave labor. Go, what's it called? The Angola plantation in Louisiana. Go check that one out. I recommend you go research that one. That's your research for the day. Anyway, slavery in America ends with the Civil War. Yada yada ends with the Civil War. Emancipation Proclamation. Blah blah blah. 1865. In Canada, because Canada was not a united, confederated country until 1867. It was a British territory, a British colony, a British colony. So Canada effectively followed British laws, and in Britain outlawed the transatlantic slave trade, I believe, in 1809 or something like that. So they just had a monopoly on the Atlantic Ocean, so you couldn't. They would stop like the Spanish or the French or whatever from trafficking, or the Dutch, because no one talks about them. Um, from trafficking slaves across from Africa to the Americas. They shut that down with their navy. Um, but you could still sell, buy and sell and trade and do all the slavery. Like slavery was still legal in all these places. You just couldn't ship any more from Africa. Mm. But then in 1832 or 33 or something, I think it became effective August 1st, 1833, or August 3rd or something like that. Sometime in August 1833, slavery was outlawed in the British Empire. So that includes what is now Canada. So slavery was illegal at that point, but again, if it's like it's a lot more gray in Canada in terms of, well, they weren't really doing plantations. I have my house Negro, he helps me out. Like that, it was kind of very turn a blind eye to it. Um and honestly, if you look into it, it kind of literally fizzled out on its own, in that they would still they could still sell you across the border, like the Canadian US border. Like some slaves in Canada were taken south and sold. But then you have a lot of slaves from America on the Underground Railroad coming to Canada. So there was like people in Canada didn't feel strongly for or against slavery, is what I'm trying to explain. So there was people who had their slaves and they just had them cuss, and they probably were like, well, we're not treating them too bad because we've heard the stories of how they treat them in the States or in the islands or whatever, and we're not doing that. I just make him do this blacksmithing stuff for me, so I'm not a bad guy. There was not really like this great uproar, societal uproar for people to be like, oh, let's cancel this institution. It was so like, mm. At the same time, with the people coming from the Underground Railroad and um people in Canada escaping into their own forming, basically black Canadians would develop their own communities away from white communities, like down in southeastern Ontario, sorry, southwestern Ontario, they have a huge legacy of there being black community, like a whole black town with their own churches and all that stuff, and they're just farming, they're self-sufficient. And this is kind of what it was looking like in Canada from that like 1800s stretch into the early 1900s, up until the 20s, I believe, 20s, 30s, because with the Great Depression, then you have all these rural black people. Well, don't that's weird when people refer to black people or white people as blacks or whites. It's kind of like it's not person first language. Anyway, um, now there's suddenly this influx of people from these black communities coming into the urban areas looking for work, and this is why, like in America, white people were living in proximity to black people for longer, so there's more tension, but at the same time, it's more like they're acclimatized to it. But in Canada, the problem was there was white people with like living comfortable, perfect lives without even having to think about that there's black people in the vicinity. Meanwhile, now suddenly Great Depression, these people are coming in, flooding the cities. No, I shouldn't say flooding the cities, but now suddenly there's these. It seems like these black people came out of nowhere. So they don't tell you this. They're not gonna tell you this. And Canadians, well, you can trust me because I'm going to tell you the skeletons. I'm going to show you the skeletons in Canada's closet. No, we're not polite. No, we're not nice. Um, but yeah, so now you have these white people being exposed to black people, and they're like, "Oh my God!" So we have a lot more of it's acute. I'd call it acute because America, white and black relations is chronic, but in Canada it's acute because oh snap, and they're here, and then now we have problems, but we won't admit them because we'll like to pretend that there's no we don't actually have Jim Crow, but like we effectively had Jim Crow stuff. Like there are sundown towns in Canada, Shadow Georgetown. Um, yeah, that's a thing. That is a thing there. But anyway, all this to say, this whole tangent, I was building up to the fact that like I think it's with some nuances, it's pretty safe to like they're anti-black in America, they're anti-black in Canada, and I think that's not a stretch to say. There's a similar legacy going on with the way black people are viewed in both places. So this lobster man, when I was trying to explain to him Jim Crow and whatever, he was like, "Oh, you need to be specific. Are we talking about Canada or are we talking about United States? Completely different cultures." And no, it's white Christianity. Canadian culture is white Christianity. American culture is white Christianity. Same culture. So that rubbed me the wrong way when he tried to sit there swear up and down that Jim Crow or whatever you want to call it in Canada, slavery legacy, like that has no hold on today. Bullshit. Bullshit. Um but yeah, the kicker the kicker for me was I just had to reiterate, of course, this it doesn't seem like this way to you. You don't want to believe all these things because you're white. So your life is easier, yes. He didn't like me saying that, and he was like, because I was like, as a racialized person, I'm just telling you, this is what it's like. And he was like, oh, the race, yeah, you're not racialized anything. You know, I have a friend who's from Cyprus and he's darker than you. Okay, but that doesn't mean that I'm still not racialized. Like, your friend darker than me doesn't mean that I'm white, because I'm darker than you. I'm darker than you. What do you mean? That kind of just that made me laugh because I have a friend who's darker than you actually, so they think he's Indian, is what he said. I'm not making this up. You can't make this up. Like this is um all in all though, he was kind of like, yeah, we're just gonna be talking in circles. We're gonna be talking in circles. Okay, because he couldn't admit that I schooled him. I gathered him. He couldn't handle that, and then he was suddenly all like, "Yeah, I guess we can agree that that cops are, they're not they're assholes. It's the cops, the policing is kind of corrupt." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, sure. I'm gonna take it because you already revealed to me that you're stupid. So yeah, I'm gonna enjoy the rest of this picnic." Um, so I did, and he stopped talking to me. Well, he didn't stop talking to me, but he ended up going. He got up. I don't know, probably to get a drink, probably to smoke something, and he went outside. And then like time passed, and then I wanted to get up and take a walk because like there was gonna be the kids were gonna go play soccer, so I wanted to watch that, or I just wanted fresh air. I wanted to walk around, whatever. And he was out there, and then he tried talking to me again about more politics, and I was like, I'm not engaging. I'm not engaging. I'm not biting. I'm not stupid. I'm not doing that. So I kind of just ignored him, and it was funny. But you can see that honestly, I probably made his week. I probably made his month. I probably made his year because he's surrounded by other lobsters who just agree with him, or self-hating racialized people who the coonery and buffoonery of it all. Maybe he's around those people. Um, but I wasn't gonna just sit there and I don't know. He saw my ears and he was like, "Oh, you're a musician," and he just assumed that I was like a libtard, an average libtard. But like, oh, trust me, you don't even know. You don't even know the half of it. Libtards, they run in fear. They cower in fear when they see me coming. So, oh, the conservatives, they choke and they die. The MAGAs, they choke and die. Uh, yeah, that's pretty much the whole story. And then I wrote notes down because I could not wait to get up in front of the camera and tell you about this event. What? What? Honestly, it was the as I mature and I learn more and I don't know, I come into myself more. I just learned from this thing that normally normally I am very like I try to be very congenial and pleasant in public. Like you're a stranger, I don't know you. I'm not gonna get into this with you because notice how he asked me. I didn't try and talk, and I don't. I think that we should normalize talking about um social political issues like I don't believe in this. Oh, don't talk about politics. Don't talk about money. That's literally what the overseers said. They created this rule so we wouldn't um collaborate and overthrow them. That's all I have to say about that. But of course I'm not gonna just go, especially if I'm just here to have a good time. So I'm not gonna go around asking, "Are you political? Are you political?" Like that's not the place for it. So he asked me, um, but in normally I would just kind of deflect and diffuse and not engage. But I don't know, something that day I was just feeling different. I chose violence. I was like, you know what? Why should I keep my mouth shut? Well, I should fight you. I should, and I certainly did. With that, I would implore you to engage in social political discourse more regularly, but more civilly as well, because I do feel like, particularly for white people, like the white conservatives are kind of the same thing to me because it's about like they just like fighting each other. They just like fighting each other. They don't necessarily like white liberals are not necessarily about uplifting racialized people. They kind of just want to they hear the MAGA conservatives yelling, so they just want to yell louder because if white people want to be loud and obnoxious and own opulence, you own everything. So it's not actually about making space for racialized people. It's just making space for themselves. And You know what? I can get into that deeper in another video, but I feel like I already went over my limit today. Not actually. I could go on and on and on and on and on and on. And that's why I must stop myself. Because I know you love it and I love it, but I need to drink of water. And I must separate the information to little bite-sized pieces so it can go over better. But yeah, this was a first segment of Talk That Talk Tuesday. We'll see how far we can take it. We'll see how far we can go. That is my story for today. I don't know. I love it. I love to engage more with the audience because right now I'm preaching to the choir. I'm preaching to the peanut gallery over here, the bacon gallery. Um, so I would really 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 love to send my message further further into the, right now I'm just yelling at the void. So um hopefully we can do something about that because I think people deserve to know. I think people deserve to hear it and feel like it will resonate eventually. Anyway, with that, it I have been I've been I'm Honolulu, and it was nice seeing you at 900 terahertz. Let's get on the same wavelength, whether you're far or near. I'm happy that you're here. Go check out all my socials in the description and all that good stuff. Um, and I'll catch you again. I'll see you again. If you're new here, I'm happy that you're here. If you're old here, I'm also happy that you're here. Um, let's keep this good thing going. All right. See you until next time. Goodbye.